I'll be honest with you guys. Most of the time when I get a DM that says, I am never listening to the Bert Show again, I'm generally like, hey, man, that's your prerogative. That's cool. We still got one or two people listening. If that's what you want to do, then go for it. But I got a handful of DMs the other day canceling the show, and for all with the same reason. And I'm not bothered by them checking out. I'm bothered that it went from I love you to I'm never listening to you with one segment, right? Which is a bigger problem, I think, than just here in the studio. So, Davi, you were out the other day. I forget how it came up, but we were talking about the gun control issue.
Matthew McConaughey in the statement that he wrote for the Austin newspaper.
Okay. And then I was telling these guys about a congressperson in Buffalo that was up for re-election, a Republican congressman that came out and saw what happened in his hometown, Buffalo, mass shooting. So he's like, yeah, I know I'm Republican, but you know what? We got to do something about the guns here. I mean, I believe in the Second Amendment as a conservative, but we got to do something, you guys. So, and this, again, is a Republican. So the NRA decided that they were going to post his cell number and his office number and tell people, you ought to tell this dude what you're thinking about the whole situation, right? And it got so bad for him that he's like, and by the way, they started to support the Republican that was going up against him and poured a lot of money into the other dude's campaign. So this specific congressman sticking up for stricter gun rights bailed on the election. He's like, it's not worth it. You know what? Now you're dragging my family into it. I'm getting calls. So that's it. So he bailed on it. So I was telling that and how disappointed I was in that. And right there is a really good example of why I believe we're not even seeing baby steps, not even baby steps to correct this problem. So how many more kids? How many more schools? How many more churches? How many more supermarkets, right? So the DMs that I got, the handful of them, basically said the same thing, which was I'm a P1, which if you're a P1 means you're the most loyal Bert Show listener. You love us. Supposed to be unconditionally, no matter what we say. I love you guys, and I have listened for years, but I can't do it anymore. When you told that story about Buffalo or your stance on gun control, I'm just not listening anymore. Okay, I get it. We don't share the same values in this area. Here is the bigger issue for me, though, is that we have gone from having different opinions and still being able to be friends to having different opinions, and now I don't like you and I don't want to hear what you have to say.
It's not even I don't like you. It's I hate you and I loathe you.
And that's really what bothered me about the DMs. It wasn't that, you know what, people are going to come and they're going to go every single day. There is not a joke that we can make on the show that's not going to offend somebody because you're going to take it personally based on what's going on. And you're like, I get it. I totally get it. But what really, really bothers me, as I said, is going from this, I don't agree with you, but we can still hang, to like, I don't agree with you. And like Kristen said, now I hate your guts. And I'm going to go listen to somebody else. That pissed me off. It really did.
And I think it's what you're seeing reflected in our country and in our government right now, because we can't seem to find a middle ground.
Well, we did a little bit yesterday, and I wanted to mention this because if you guys don't watch the news every day and you hear the shocking things that are going on in schools and supermarkets and you hear about the massacres, but you're not really paying attention to any legislation that's trying to be pushed through, there might have been a little bit of hope yesterday. The House of Representatives passed a bill raising the age to purchase semi-automatic rifles to 21. Okay, right now it's at 18. It would also require safe firearm storage and also seeking a kind of crackdown on firearm trafficking. And a few Republicans crossed party lines and pushed it through.
That is a huge step in the right direction.
Okay.
That's really good news, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you know, the people that are way more astute about these kind of things in politics, which I absolutely hate, are saying it's going to be a much tougher battle in the Senate, where things are just a little bit more even. But we do have an opportunity here, and you just might, in a couple of weeks, see this bill hopefully pass, which doesn't cancel out semi-automatic weapons, but it does increase the purchasing to 21. So that's some hope. And I've always said, just baby steps, because I am a Second Amendment. I'm a guy. I think that we should be able to own guns, but I think the spirit of how I'm feeling is, at least what I'm seeing, is sort of the same as others, saying like, let's not get, okay, we know that's not even on the table. That is never going to happen. So what baby steps can we take where Parkland doesn't happen again, Texas doesn't happen again, Buffalo doesn't happen again? So, I mean, that's a little bit of good news, right?
I agree.
Little baby step. Are you purposely not engaging because you're scared to say your stance on it?
No, everybody knows my stance on it. I believe in common sense gun laws.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. It's not about taking everybody's guns away. It's just about promoting responsible gun ownership. And so, with the background checks, and you look at the numbers and the statistics are out there, a majority of Americans support, background checks and some of these other common sense gun laws, raising the age, having a little bit more of a waiting period before somebody can get their hand on a gun, rather than just going into a gun store and immediately purchasing these automatic rifles and all of this ammo. So I'm in favor of common sense gun laws. I don't want to take everybody's guns away. And I feel at this point, with the increasing nature of these mass shootings, we can no longer sit back and do nothing.
I'm just saying, let's listen to each other. That's it. So Kristen just got canceled by 5 people right there. She has
No matter
a
what
different
you
opinion. I did see one thing that I want to mention before we get back to something more fun. There was a, and I'm not sure who her name is, but I know she's a Wyoming congresswoman. And she was doing an interview or a podcast a couple of days ago talking about rolling back and having stricter gun laws. And she said on this podcast, again, very conservative Republican from Wyoming, said on the podcast, my people are never going to go that. The folks of Wyoming, the people that I represent, don't want any change whatsoever. None, right? So I have to listen to my constituents and I vote the way they do. She was lit up with phone calls from people from Wyoming, lit up saying, you're wrong. So while I believe in the Second Amendment, I also believe that some change needs to be made. And she acknowledged that. And she said, I couldn't believe how many people called me, and I actually am going to vote differently.
Yeah, somebody retweeted a responsible gun owner from Kentucky, and he was like, listen, I own guns, and I am a believer in the Second Amendment. However, I'll fill out a little extra paperwork. I'll wait a little longer to get my gun if it's going to prevent tragedy, if it's going to prevent more tragedies like this. He goes, at this point, we got to try something.
Does it have to be about politics? I'm telling you what, none of those kids at that elementary school in Texas, I don't know if they're Republicans or Democrats. Do we know if the kids in Parkland were Republicans or Democrats? Everybody that was shot in Buffalo, pretty sure. I have no idea if they were Republican or Democrats. It doesn't matter.
Growing up in New York, the gun laws was so strict that when I came to the South, it was shocking. I was like blown away at how easy it was for some people to get a gun. So it's like, it's a new territory for me, and I don't know what the answers are, but it got to be a way to just make sure that if you are going to do it, it's common sense guns laws to get the guns in the hands of responsible people.
All right, now back to what you guys are tuning in for the Bert Show for, and that's some fun.
And by the way, you asked Tommy how we got behind earlier, and this is how.
Oh, it's always me. Chatty. It's always me.
Said, I got a tiny thing to say about my DM. That was 9 minutes ago.
It's always me. It's coming from within the house. I know the call is coming from within the house.
The Bert Show.
Hey, do you like what you just watched? Because you can get more Bert Show for free. We drop new podcast every weekday, and you can find us anywhere. Spotify, Apple, any place you get podcasts.